Trudeau's back in town, but has he made up his mind? The latest on Canadian politics is next on Now You Know. I'm Rob Snow.
Deeper than the headlines.
The answers you need to know.
This is Now You Know with Rob Snow on News Radio.
The big boss is back. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau is back in Ottawa now, but there are no signs he's made any decisions about his future as Prime Minister or leader of the Liberal Party. As for his plans today, Mr. Trudeau is participating in a virtual meeting of the Cabinet Committee on Canada-U.S. Relations and then is visiting the U.S. Embassy in Ottawa to sign the book of condolences for the former President of the United States, Jimmy Carter. He's not meeting with the news media, but that's not putting an end to all the speculation about his future. And there are other Liberals who are starting to put plans into motion to pressure Mr. Trudeau to step aside. One news report today says senior Liberal MPs are meeting today to talk about ways to push Mr. Trudeau to reveal whether he's staying or going. The Globe and Mail reports the party's regional caucus chairs want more information about the rules, such as who picks Justin Trudeau's replacement as the Liberal Party's interim leader. What role would MPs have in that decision? Is that decision up to the National Board of Directors of the Liberal Party? According to the Liberal Party's own constitution, the Board of Directors is supposed to consult with Liberal MPs if there is, quote, a leadership triggering event. MPs also want to know if Mr. Trudeau has the power to choose the person who replaces him, should he decide to step down. One concern in Liberal circles is how the party will choose the next leader of the Liberals. Liberal Party doesn't work like other parties in that people don't have to buy membership. Someone can simply sign up and be a supporter of the Liberal Party. And that has some fearing a full-fledged leadership race could be hijacked by one-issue special interest groups, for example, pro-Palestinian activists. Jordan Paquette is a senior consultant at Blue Sky Strategy Group in Ottawa.
It's going to be a complete gong show of a leadership race. I mean, look, other parties, conservative, everybody has had leadership races where you have candidates come out, the dark horse candidates, they run on one or a couple of different issues just to sort of set the narrative. But on the Liberal side here, there's no value in the membership. You can just go to a bunch of people and they just sign a document or not even a document, just some online form probably, and then they're a voting member. And so there is a very real chance that this will be taken over by single issue things. I think the party will drift even further to the left than they already have, because they're going to be chasing some of these hardcore votes. You'll have people tripping over themselves over the Hamas-Israel conflict to take more of the side of on the Palestinian side. People like Jolie, if she's in there, I think you'll start to see more hardline stances from her. It's going to be a complete gong show of a contest. And that's to say if the Liberal Party executive actually figures out a streamlined time of which this vote could take place before the next election.
Well, most Liberals try and figure out what's going on in Justin Trudeau's head and how it would all work if he actually stepped down. The Conservatives don't want to wait for the Liberals to sort themselves out. They want to try and trigger an election as soon as possible. Conservative MPs on the Public Accounts Committee plan to move a non-confidence vote at that committee early next week, and if it passes, bring it to the House of Commons just days after the House resumes business on January 27th. Cam Holmstrom of Nipaway Strategies says one big problem right now is that there's no clarity from the Liberals at a very crucial time when Donald Trump is being sworn into office in just a few weeks from now.
There is no non-chaos scenario at this point because this guy has held on for so long. The fact is, you could write up the writs tomorrow for an election, and that vote ain't going to happen before probably the first week of February at best, because you have the holidays that come throughout this, right? You're probably looking more like mid-February. So either you go to an election now, and we don't have a government in place, and we're in caretaker mode for the first 3 weeks of Donald Trump's presidency, which is far from being ideal, or, you've got a heavily weakened government in place, not able to really handle with it, and then ending up in either the government falling or whatnot, basically a week into that whole situation, or Liberals going into a leadership race when Donald Trump is inaugurated. Like you're talking about, there is no scenario here where there's stability at this point. And honestly, the only person to blame for that is Justin Trudeau.
Meantime, what is Chrystia Freeland up to? The former Minister of Finance who resigned in stunning fashion and torched Justin Trudeau on the way out the door? She's working the phones, according to a report in the Toronto Star. That outlet says Freeland has been reaching out to Liberal MPs. Some of those MPs are saying she didn't bring up a leadership bid, but that they were impressed with the outreach. Josie Sabatino of Summa Strategies told us Freeland would have to be considered one of the favorites to replace Justin Trudeau. But helping to win the next election for the Liberals, that would be another matter. Sabatino thinks the Liberals would have a better chance with a leader that wasn't part of Trudeau's government.
She has had the baggage of this Liberal government and hanging onto the country's finances, hanging over her head for several budgets now. And I really do think that it has to be an outsider if anybody is to have a chance of moving away from the brand drag of what this Liberal government has done to our country over the last 9 years. So I think, Mark Carney is the one to watch, and I would shy away from anybody who suggests that, this current crop of Liberal cabinet ministers really have a chance here when it gets taken to Canadians.
Nick McRoberts, Vice President of Winston Wilmot, agrees that it wouldn't be an easy ride for Chrystia Freeland.
But she is far from that in my mind. She's far from this sort of martyr. She is someone who has leadership ambitions, and she saw an opportunity. Ms. Freeland has done a lot over her career. She has been a public servant and an elected member in this government, and she should be celebrated for that. But the current economic place we find ourselves in is as much her fault or role or responsibility as anyone else. And she may say that she had an opportunity to stick to her morals and put up these fiscal guardrails and say, no, I won't do it. But at the end of the day, this is a political move.
There is a new poll out today about a potential Liberal leadership race. It's from the Angus Reid Institute. It suggests the Liberals would benefit from a new leader, but it wouldn't be a big improvement. A few days ago, Angus Reid released a survey that showed support for the Liberal Party across the country is cratered, just 16%. Angus Reid said it was the Liberal Party's lowest polling result of the modern era. Today's survey suggests if Freeland were to become the next Liberal Party leader, the party's support would climb to 21%. That's the best of a bad lot. Angus Reid says all the other names that you hear in the mix as potential Liberal leadership contenders fare no better than Trudeau. People like Mark Carney, Melanie Joly, Dominic LeBlanc, Anita Anand, and Francois-Philippe Champagne. I'm Rob Snow. This is Now You Know on News Radio.
There is no question Rob won't get answered.
Now You Know with Rob Snow continues
On News Radio.
With our expert in communications, crisis communications, political communications, branding, and leadership, Barry McLaughlin is back with us for another year. He's the president of TLC, Transformational Leadership Consultants. Barry lectures at the Telfer School of Management at the University of Ottawa and at the MBA program at the Shannon School of Business at Cape Breton University. And Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year to you, Rob. Great to be with you.
Great to hear from you. Our first conversation of the year. And look, since you teach people about leadership, we want to ask you, who is a leader that you admire or have admired?
They come from different brands and different ends of the spectrum. I think I just watched a two-part documentary. Again, I've watched many of Ronald Reagan and was certainly around when Reagan was president. I think he was a great leader. First of all, his primary skill set was he was a great communicator. He knew how to deliver. He learned how to do it in Hollywood. That's true. He was an actor. That's true. But you know what? He was authentic. Nobody said, well, that's just Reagan acting. No, they actually believed he absolutely believed what he was saying. So there was an authenticity about Ronald Reagan. And he was a much smarter guy than they were giving him credit for, as it turned out. We finally got a hold of his diaries and they saw, wow, he wrote a lot of that stuff himself. That was amazing. So he was a smart man, but he connected with ordinary people, even though he did not have an ordinary life. So that would be one major one. I think the second one, as you know, I went to the Kennedy School, of course, I know all things Kennedy, but I think John F. Kennedy was a great leader at a time of major international crises, Cuba Missile Crisis. He took America and the world through this in a calm, deliberate way, very strategic. And of course, an amazingly charismatic communicator. He would definitely be way up there. I think in Canadian terms, I got to know Brian Mulroney, and he passed this year, and I think it's, one should give him his full due. I knew him well enough to be able to say that he listened to people. He worked. He knew all of his caucus members. He their birthdays, their family. He knew it wasn't just him, but it was through them and keeping connection with them that he was going to achieve what he needed to achieve. And he did big things. I think NAFTA being the best example of that. Wow, he took the nation through convulsive change, and he was able to do it also by being open to feedback. He brought me in one time to brief the cabinet on why the selling of the GST hasn't worked. Like, why do people hate this tax? So I went through it, the cabinet and him, and he listened and took it in well. He really was able to take criticism, because if he knew there was a constructive purpose to it, he invited me in to do exactly that. You don't hear a lot of leaders doing that. They all want to be defensive and blame somebody else. So those are just a couple of them that stick out in my mind.
In your opinion, when you look at great leaders, whether in the public sector, the private sector, the corporate world, whatever the case might be, what qualities do you see time and again, Barry?
Well, first of all, I think they have to have an ability to communicate. I've mentioned that, of course, a number of times. Secondly, a real self-awareness. They have to understand themselves before they try to understand other people. And they have to have integrity. They ought to be able to say, look the people in the eye that they often have now in employee town halls. I'll take responsibility for what happened there. The buck stops at my desk, and I'm going to take full responsibility for that. People want that. They don't blame, but they want learning. What are we learning out of this is often a good question I hear leaders say. What's our learning out of this? Did we learn anything? Oh, if we didn't, we're probably going to do it again. It's not a blame. Right. I don't care about that. It's not part of my agenda. I want to know what we as an organization have learned. So I love hearing that. And being respectful of people, no matter where they are on the totem pole. I love that. They often, bad leaders, kick down and kiss up, as it's known as. I like leaders that are respectful to everyone. And so I'd have to say that, these are qualities that you want to have in a leader, because really people are in a world of uncertainty. And the steady hand at that tiller is somebody you can count on. They're consistent. They have personal qualities and integrity that matter to them and stay with them. Yes, they get to know their employees, which is just a great, great thing. And the great leaders make it their business to learn people's names, in very large organizations, particularly how true this is. So these are just some of the qualities in a great leader.
Okay. When we come back, we'll talk about the person who could be the next leader of Canada, Pierre Poilievre, making news today. I'm Rob Snow. This is Now You Know. This is News Radio.
You have questions.
Now You Know with Rob Snow has the answers.
On News Radio.
Here with Barry McLaughlin from TLC, Transformational Leadership Consultants. Leadership is kind of the theme for us today. Barry, all the polls suggest Pierre Poilievre could be the next leader of Canada. Over the holidays, his social media team released a 12-minute video. It's a compilation of all the wacky things that the Liberals have said and done over the last 9 years. For David and me, it kind of fell flat for us. What did you think of it? Whatever you saw of it.
Well, it was, I think, an attempt at year-end to kind of pull together all of these clips, as you say, and you give it a theme, wacko, wacky. His best use of social media, and he is the best leader with social media, there's no question about it, is when he himself is on camera. When he himself, whether it's eating an apple, staring down a reporter, he's extremely confident and really good at those, and they execute those magnificently well. This was a very different kind of one. I don't see them doing this again, really. I don't think it advances their case very much, but it's I guess it reminds you of all the Liberals, quote, greatest hits, So
right.
I don't think it's the right model for him. Actually, not all models work for each leader. I don't think that's his model. His model is when he's on camera.
Okay. He did a very long interview with Jordan Peterson. I mean, it's just ripping through social media. 25 million views. 25 million views. Can you imagine? I I mean, you think about think about that for a moment. A Canadian politician doing an interview that gets 25 million views. Well, what do you think about that?
Well, I think it was pretty smart on his part. He does have a growing brand well beyond the borders, and it's about time, because Canada needs to be able to, especially the United States, develop influence in the United States in particular and elsewhere. He does really well in those interviews. I watched most of that interview, and very confident but not cocky. He had the right tone. It was actually, even though he's got his own negatives that he's hitting on Trudeau and so on, but he actually had a very positive kind of vision of what Canada could be. And I think that really did come through in that longer form kind of interview. Of course, he does have a sympathetic interviewer in Jordan Peterson, but actually it was an intelligent, thoughtful interview. So I keep coming back to it. He's his own best communicator. He doesn't need a lot of gimmicks around it. I need to get him on there. And so I think he knows the long form. He knows social media. This is his zone. This is why he connects to younger people and different people that normally perhaps the Conservatives don't connect with. So I think that was a really good example of Pierre at his best.
Really interesting. Okay. So Mr. Trudeau's back in Ottawa now after his Christmas holiday. What do you think his next move will be?
I think he's doing exactly today what he's going to be doing, which is getting ready for January 20th. And he's got to be in the chair of the Prime Minister on January 20th for one of, two scenarios. We either get slapped with the tariffs, which is highly likely, and in which case he has to immediately turn around and slap back with our tariffs. He's got to take action immediately. Or Trump decides, hey, you've done the things I asked about the border, I won't do it. And then he gets to imply the benefit from that. So he needs to be there. But that's about as long as he can go. And I think he's going to have to go to the GG and prorogue, because he really can't face Parliament on January 27th and really survive for very long. If Conservatives succeed, they could have a January 30th vote of confidence. So he's not going to last very long if he does that. So he has to prorogue. And if he prorogues, I believe he'll be going for throwing open to a leadership race. And I believe he'd try to stay in the chair during that leadership race, which isn't always the case. I think he would try to do that and then hand it over, as his father did, hand it over at the end of that race. But that has to take place by March 27th because there's a money bill. So that's a very tight 2-month period in which it'd have to be a leadership race and hand over the keys. Wow, that's very difficult to do. It can be done. I don't see an alternative that would be stronger than that.
Yeah, the first few months of this year in Canadian politics will be ones to watch and listen to for sure.
Absolutely.
And we're glad you're along with us again for another year of insight and analysis. Thank you so much for today. Great to hear from you again.
Thank you,
Happy
Rob.
New Year again.
Thank you.
And
Happy
your
New Year
family.
to you.
Yeah, bye-bye. Barry McLaughlin is the head of TLC, president of Transformational Leadership Consultants, lecturer at the Telfer School of Management at the University of Ottawa, and at the MBA program at the Shannon School of Business at Cape Breton University. When we come back, Tom Korski will be back with us, the managing editor of Blacklock's Reporter. I'm Rob Snow. This is Now You Know on News Radio.
No question goes unasked or unanswered.
Now You Know with Rob Snow returns on News Radio.
Well, he's been minding Ottawa's business. Tom Korski is back with us, the managing editor at Blacklock's Reporter. Welcome back. Great to hear from you.
Happy New Year to you, Rob.
Yeah, Happy New Year, Tom. What is happening with mortgage fraud and money laundering in Canadian real estate? What have you learned?
It's getting worse, and it wasn't supposed to because Parliament passed reform laws going way back to 2020 that was supposed to get on this. There have been complaints for years that there's dirty money, their words, dirty money, in real estate, typically through straw buyers. And what they did was, 5 years ago, they forced realtors to have to verify the identities of their clients and report all suspicious cash transactions. And it didn't work. the Department of Finance has an illegal notice that mortgage fraud has grown worse and more rules are required. Now they're going after title insurers. They're going after unidentified third parties. But this is, Rob, this is following some really blood-curdling research that has been done by advocates who have pointed out billions and billions of dollars, especially in the hottest real estate markets, of dirty money, suspected organized crime funding that has been cycled through, snow-washed is the phrase, through Canadian real estate.
Okay, I'll take no offense. Okay, snow-washed. Okay, that's interesting. And, in addition to that, driving up real estate values, I would suspect, as well, worsening the housing crisis.
Absolutely. And realtors have testified in committee, to their credit, have said, look, we want nothing to do with this. Pile on all the rules you want. The more rules, the better. We have to get the dirty money out. But it tells you how attractive, these guys go where the money is. It tells you how attractive the real estate market is for organized crime in the Greater Toronto Area, metropolitan Vancouver.
Right. So there are new anti-fraud rules, though, that are coming into effect, I gather.
Absolutely.
Later this
One
year.
is for title insurers. You must verify your clients, and you must report that information. And you must be, and that's subject to audit. You have to keep the records. Okay. A lot of people have said, well, why weren't they doing this 20 years ago? Excellent rhetorical question.
Yes. Well, yet another Liberal MP and former Trudeau cabinet minister is calling it a political career, at least at the federal level. Marco Mendicino, who was the public safety minister during the Freedom Convoy protests, someone who fully supported the idea of using the Emergencies Act to end that protest, someone who joked along with the Minister of Justice and Attorney General at the time of having tanks roll down Confederation Boulevard in front of Parliament Hill to scare the protesters away. He did that. We have the emails, have the texts. Marco Mendicino has announced he will not seek re-election as Toronto area riding. There are some rumors floating around that he is being wooed to run for mayor of Toronto against the current mayor, Olivia Chow, when the next round of municipal elections get going. But the last time we spoke, actually, there were moves from the opposition to want to get some clarification from Mr. Mendicino about comments he made about the police and the police's desire to have the Emergencies Act in order to end the Freedom Convoy protest. I wonder what this means about that. What do you know?
Still pending. They're waiting for the go-ahead from the Speaker, and I have to say, my 2 cents, the opposition has a pretty compelling case. And this was noticed by media in the day. I don't think Mendicino is running again because he can't get elected. And what's about to happen is not going to help any mayoralty campaign. During the Freedom Convoy, you recall vividly, Rob, he had said they reluctantly used emergency powers against peaceful protesters because, Mendicino said over and over in the House, in committees, all around the town, the police asked us to invoke the Emergencies Act. He said that half a dozen times, including in testimony. Problem. Not only could nobody find a single constable who said, I asked Mendicino to use emergency powers, every Ontario Provincial Police Superintendent, RCMP Commissioner, City Police Chiefs, every cop who testified regarding the Freedom Convoy said we didn't need it. Not only did we not ask for it, we didn't need it anyway. Half of this was bylaw infractions. Mendicino's on the hook now. MPs have filed a formal motion, Conservative MPs. They want him censured for lying to Parliament. How's that for a bumper sticker for your mayoralty campaign? This is no joke. There have been MPs in the past who faced very serious consequences for deliberately lying. That still counts in this town.
Yeah. One of the things I'll always remember, I think, about Marco Mendicino and his time in politics is in the very earliest, not just days, but hours of the Freedom Convoy protests. We were doing a radio show in Ottawa, and we were on for the very first day when the convoy rolled right into town, and we were there on the second day. And his office called us and said we would love it if the public safety minister could come on and talk about the government's plans to deal with the Freedom Convoy protest. And I mean the protest, I mean, it wasn't even 12 hours old and he was already using words, it's motivated and filled with white supremacists and Nazis. Like, this was part of that narrative very, very early on in the Freedom Convoy days. Like, it wasn't even 24 hours old at the time.
Absolutely, Rob. No, they were jacked up. He wanted his January 6th moment. He was going to save democracy. Cabinet was going to save democracy. And it turns out they were saving democracy from some guys who double parked a truck outside the CBC building and were cooking hot dogs, giving them to passers-by. That was their save democracy moment. Mendocino had a lot to answer for, but as you know, the problem is, on this subject, forgive me, this is one of those news stories I never discuss with friends or neighbors in Ottawa anymore. Because to the vast majority of Ottawans, the Freedom Convoy, oh my goodness, it was like the bombing of Coventry. Oh, the honking. They never got over it. They're unhinged on the subject. Mendocino is one of the latest victims of the government overreach, and it has been very, very far-reaching in terms of consequences. You know, the numbers of careers that were ruined over that Emergencies Act is a long list.
It sure is. It sure is. Okay, when we come back, there could be some drama next week, even though the House of Commons is off, but committee work does continue even if the House is not sitting, and there's a meeting of the Public Accounts Committee next week where the Conservatives are going to try and get a vote passed on non-confidence in the government. Tom Korski's followed more than a few committee meetings on Parliament Hill. He'll give us some insights. This is Now You Know on News Radio.
Critical thinking is not dead.
Now You Know with Rob Snow.
Returns on News Radio.
We are back with Tom Korski, the managing editor of Blacklock's Reporter, with us every Friday. So Tuesday is supposed to be a meeting of the Public Accounts Committee. And at that meeting, the Conservatives are going to try and pass a motion of non-confidence in the government. Given the makeup of that particular committee, the Public Accounts Committee, I mean, do the Liberals, because we've seen this before, Liberals and Democrats voting to, stop meetings and block votes and whatever. What do you know about how this meeting could roll out, Tom?
Well, it's one of a handful of committees, Rob, that has an opposition chair. And that's why the committee hearing has been called. Let's see, that is on Tuesday, you're correct, at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Don't miss it. The chair is John Williamson from New Brunswick Southwest, former Taxpayers Federation organizer. And he has been in office and out of office, and he's been around the block. And Chair Williamson, who suffers no fools, called the committee into session. I think the point is to needle the NDP. You recall MP Leader Singh had voted confidence in Cabinet 3 times, and then waited until the House adjourned for its 5-week Christmas recess and said, I'm never doing that again. And exactly. And so I think there was something about that sort of piqued Chair Williamson's sense of irritation. And I think this is just a hunch and intuition. I claim no secret sources. I think Williamson has said, oh, okay, so it's going to be that way, is it? So let's get back into session. Break time's over. Let's get back to work. And they want to keep this business of no confidence in the headlines. I think they are irritated is the word, with this concept that somehow, while the rest of the country has moved on into a post-Trudeau era, that Canada, Ottawa, and the Ottawa aristocracy are going to continue to live in this sort of, this kind of weird twilight where Trudeau's going to decide when he's going to resign, and that Mark Carney is going to, it's all this soap opera. So it's just about needling. And, I mean, that's the way of human nature.
Okay. Well, this is a really interesting story here that you have about the CBC Ombudsman, Jack Nagler, who's a 34-year employee of the public broadcaster, issued his final report as ombudsman for the CBC. What did he say about CBC television?
They always save the good stuff for for their last report, and he did this
I guess
as he was
so,
on his
yeah.
way out the door. That's right, Rob. What did he write? Ombudsman Nagler, I quote him accurately. He said, even if the CBC were perfect, it's unwise to rely on any single news source if you want to be fully informed. In other words, I'm translating his plain English, don't think you're well informed if all you're doing is getting your news from CBC TV. This is part of the problem, he wrote. We slip into what he called news silos or information bubbles. What you want to do is listen to information that conflicts with our pre-existing views. Our pre-existing views, he means at CBC headquarters on Front Street in Toronto. It's too bad Nagler didn't write a report like that when he was appointed, because it might have had more traction. As it is, it will go on the shelf at the CBC as the walls close in with the defunding movement.
Yeah. I mean, there's going to be changes at the top of the CBC. There's going to be a new ombudsman. There'll be a new head of the CBC. The big question is, will there be a CBC?
It's too late.
if there's a,
That's
right?
If
there's a new government, right?
No,
yeah. But he says,
no, the boat's in the water.
Yeah. Read widely, watch widely, listen widely. Don't assume any sources, even CBC News, is going to tell you everything you need to know. Actually, wise advice probably doesn't apply just to CBC
and you know, you can
News.
trust that with their CEO. You know what she has testified, the former CEO, Catherine Tate. She said it. I quote her accurately. She once testified in Commons Heritage Committee, "We are the beacon of truth in the stormy sea of disinformation."
Right.
Well, okay. Apparently not.
Okay. How widespread is the problem of copper thievery in Canada these days? Stealing copper.
Transport and Communications hearings on that very subject, Rob, and they are led to believe by telecom executives, chambers of commerce, business advocates, that it's such a problem that Parliament needs to pass a law. There have been anecdotes submitted by these telecom companies and by chambers of commerce, boards of trade, just hair-raising incidents. Last November, the Miramichi Airport in New Brunswick lost its internet for the day because some guys were stealing $200 worth of copper wire to sell for $5 a pound at a recycling plant. And they have found that if caught, this is prosecuted as petty theft under $5,000 in the criminal code. Everyone is seeking amendments to the act to make thieves liable for actual damages that run to tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars. This has been around for a while, Rob. All private bills on this have failed to date, but the testimony at those Senate committee hearings, they describe it as an epidemic. They say it's out of control.
Interesting. Okay. I look forward to our conversations this year again, Tom Korski. Thank you so much for today. Happy New Year again to you and your team there.
All the best to you. Thank you, Rob.
And Tom Korski, the managing editor at Blacklock's Reporter. I'm Rob Snow. This is Now You Know. This is News Radio.
Now You Know with Rob Snow continues on News Radio.
Here with David Smith on a Friday. We made it, Dave. Made it all the way to Friday.
It was pretty easy.
These 2-day work week's a real killer.
It was an easy week. It was an easy week.
Yeah, it was. Look, if you're ever looking for a podcast of our show, Now You Know with Rob Snow, we have a new mobile app that can help you hear our show when you want to. Listen live or at your leisure. It's called the Seeker app. That's Seeker, Seekr. All kinds of exclusive audio that you won't hear anywhere else. News, music, sports. You can download Seeker for iOS or Android. That's Seeker, Seekr. And Now You Know with Rob Snow, also on Spotify and Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. So just yesterday, David, we were asking our political panelists, what do you think one of the stories to watch this year will be away from Parliament Hill? One would be, is there going to be an election in Ontario? Okay, spring election in Ontario. Maybe that's off now. Some are thinking maybe that's off because there could be a federal election in the spring, but we'll see what happens with Doug Ford's bid for a third majority government in Ontario. And what will Nenshi do? Will the NDP leader in Alberta get a seat in the Alberta legislature? And now we know he's going to try, right?
Yes, he will, but not in his former city of Calgary. He's going to be running in Edmonton.
Yeah, Edmonton Strathcona, which became vacant after Rachel Notley resigned.
Yeah, it's the former leader Rachel Notley's seat. So
right. Okay.
I gather there will need to be a by-election called there. It hasn't been called yet, but Nenshi says he is going to seek the nomination. I suspect he's going to get it. I don't think they're going to.
Yeah.
There's going to be much of a race.
Up Edmonton Strathcona. I mean, I don't know if there would be a safer NDP seat in the entire province of Alberta than NDP Strathcona. I mean, Rachel Notley, the now former leader of the Alberta New Democrats, represented that riding since 2008. Before that, it had been NDP between 1997 and 2008. And in fact, you can go all the way back to 1986, with the exception of like one blip between 93 and 97 when it was actually held by a Liberal MLA for one term. So yeah, it, like in the 21st, 22nd, 24th, 25th, 26th, 27th, 28th, 29th, 30th, and 31st legislatures in Alberta, it's been New Democrat.
So it's a safe seat. We can confidently say that.
That is what you would call, a safe seat, I think, for the New Democrats in Alberta. And the Premier, Danielle Smith, has until the end of June to call that by-election. But yes, Nenshi will seek the NDP's nomination to run as a candidate in that riding, Edmonton Strathcona. So that'll be settled sometime this summer, one would suspect. Now, coming up right after the news, at the top of the hour, it's Talkback. It's the Friday free-for-all. So we're wide open on topics. It's open line, open topic. A little quiet yesterday on the phone lines. I know a lot of you are still in holiday mode, but that means if you've never called before, you're a first-time caller, maybe make today the day. The wait won't be too long. And believe me, next week, things are going to really start heating up when politics gears up again and people are back to work and paying attention to the news again. So give us a call. We can talk about stuff that's been in the news this week, stuff you think should be in the news, any issue that is out there that you want to discuss, feel free to raise it. That's why we do Talkback right after the news here on News Radio.
It's time to talk back.
On Now You Know with Rob Snow.
Call now.
And have your say.
1-833-668-2577.
Welcome to Talkback. 2 hours of debate and discussion on the big issues of the day. And today it is the Friday free-for-all. Our first one of the year. So we're open line, open topic on Fridays. We don't come up with topics on Fridays. It's a free-for-all. We leave it up to you. What's on your mind? What do you want to talk about? You want to talk about something that's been in the news, feel free to do so. No shortage of news stories that we can talk about. If you want to talk about something that you think should be in the news, we're always open to that as well. Whatever is on your mind, within reason, we're usually willing to hear people out, and we'll just do our best to follow along. Our call-in line is 1-833-668-2577, 1-833-668-2577. It was a little quiet on the phone lines yesterday. A lot of people still in holiday mode. So, here's a hint. If you've never called before, today would be a good time to kind of take the plunge and join the conversation because things are going to heat up. Mark my words, starting next week, people's routines start to get back to normal, and today's wait won't be too long. Next week, can't say the same. And we always love to hear from first-time callers around here. So if you've never called before, just mention that to person screening our calls today. We will make your call a priority. 1-833-668-2577. 1-833-668-2577. We always have a few topics to introduce, more or less. Just consider them just conversation starters. One of those topics today is Elon Musk. Elon Musk. What is your opinion of Elon Musk? What do you think of the man? Wealthiest person in the world, Elon Musk. He's built these incredible companies like Tesla and SpaceX. He owns X, right? What used to be known as Twitter. He was all in for Donald Trump. Helped Donald Trump get elected as president of the United States again. He's going to be part of this DOGE committee in the United States, DOGE, Department of Government Efficiency. He thinks the U.S. government is too big and taxes are too high and regulations are too complex, and all of that is appealing to fiscal conservatives, you would think. But he's also offering his opinion not just on things happening in the United States, but also the political happenings in other countries. He recently had an opinion piece in a German newspaper supporting a political party in Germany known as the ADF, which is considered to be more on the far right, a populist party, Eurosceptic, anti-immigration party. And Elon Musk has voiced his support for that party. And not only that, but on Twitter today, or X, whatever you want to call it, he's calling for the resignation and an investigation into the British Prime Minister, Keir Starmer. This is all about a big story in the UK called the rape gangs scandal. The Tory party in the UK is calling for a public inquiry into this, calling it historical child sexual exploitation. The Labour government, led by Prime Minister Starmer, doesn't support a public inquiry, says there have been several inquiries already held into this. But at issue for Elon Musk is the fact that Prime Minister Starmer was head of public prosecutions in the UK for many years, when many of these stories were coming out. So we'll see what happens with all of that. In this country, Pierre Poilievre, the conservative leader, did an interview with Jordan Peterson. It was released yesterday. It's already been viewed, last time I checked, 25 million times. Can you imagine? And Elon Musk on Twitter called it a great interview. And just that one comment, great interview, viewed more than 22 million times. And liked, well, the last time I looked, it was like 85,000 times. And that was a few hours ago. It's probably in excess of 100,000 times now. So Elon Musk, I'd love to know your opinion of this individual, the wealthiest person in the world, builder of incredible companies, world-class technology, helped Trump get elected, weighing in on Canadian politics, weighing in on UK politics, weighing in on German politics. What's your opinion of the guy? What's your opinion? Honest opinion. Do you admire him? Do you support him? Do you like his ideas? Do you think he's a little unhinged? Does he have too much power? Does he have too much influence? Does his power and influence worry you or concern you at all? We'd just love to kick this around for a while. Have a conversation about it. Your honest opinion of Elon Musk. 1-833-668-2577. 1-833-668-2577. We have lines available right now. Why don't we get to a call? Simo in Calgary. Hello, Simo.
Hi there. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing good, thank you. Yeah.
Good.
No, like Elon Musk, definitely, it's a great topic.
Yeah. What do you think
another
about
topic? Oh,
what do you think about him?
I like
you do?
him.
Okay. You do? Okay. What is it about him that you like?
He's not actually like the typical guy that comes from all the undergrad of government schools and all things. So he's like an average Joe. He came, he made money, building all these companies, but he actually voted like the normal people, like all of us, to a certain degree. So he gives hope to a lot of us actually like to go and be successful.
Be successful. Okay. You like the fact that he sort of came from humble beginnings, faced financial difficulties from time to time, didn't have a lot of money, and look at the guy now. A great success story, right?
That's correct. And he's an
gotcha.
Opportunistic. He gambles on he makes choices. He doesn't go like black or white. He's always like, picking up a good side, I guess.
Yeah.
You can read him easy. So he gambled on Donald Trump, and now he just like mixed up, like he got like the money and the power at the same time.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. Now you wanted to talk about equalization as well, right?
That's correct. Yeah, it was just like all over like social media. on those numbers were a little bit like too sad actually to see. We, like in the West, we get nothing.
Yes.
While Quebec most of the pie. So
Quebec gets the most. Yes.
Oh yeah, Quebec gets the most, and just like like when I see like Quebec's premier swearing that there will never be like any like a drop of dirty oil crossing their province, and still Alberta pays like a big chunk of their like equalization.
Yeah. It's I don't understand. I think there are probably 6 people in the entire country who understand how the equalization formula works.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, it hasn't been working for Western Canada, British Columbia, or Alberta, or Saskatchewan, and there's Quebec. I actually live in Quebec. I'm broadcasting from my house in Quebec right now.
Wow.
And here in Quebec, they've been cutting. It's not like our public services are great, like healthcare and education, what have you. But here in Quebec, we have low electricity prices. We have low daycare prices. We have much lower unemployment rates than they do in the province of Alberta. And, it just makes you wonder what's so special about Quebec that it's supposed to be not only a have-not province, but the worst of all the have-nots. I can't figure it out.
That's correct. It seems like the black sheep, actually. Like that's what they're going with. I was born in Montreal. I went to school there. I enjoyed it, but at some point, I don't think it's fair. I've been here like in Alberta for 20 years right now, so it's just like I don't think it's that fair because we also need like help in terms of like social services, education, transportation, and everything else. It's not just like you always like threaten the country or the Confederation that you're going to put in some sort of like, referendum, then you get a special treatment.
Okay. Well, look, we've got to run. That's our time, but I really appreciate your call today and being first out of the gate. Great to hear from you today. I hope you'll call again. Happy New Year to you.
Definitely will do. You as well. Happy New Year, guys. Thank you.
Okay. Bye-bye. Yeah, Simo in Calgary today. 1-833-668-2577, the Friday free-for-all talkback hour. We're off and running. We'd love to hear from you today on News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talk Back on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
First Friday free-for-all talkback of the year, and the last topic of a very short work week for us, and we'd love to hear from you. Open line, open topic, whatever's on your mind. 1-833-668-2577. We would want to kind of get your take on where things stand right now in politics. We're badly afflicted political junkies here, me and David. In 2025, I mean, it's going to be a heck of a year in federal politics, Dave. I mean, no doubt about it. It's going to get off to a flashbang start. There is going to be a federal election. We know that this year. It will happen.
Guaranteed.
At some point, right? It's just a matter of time. An election, I guess, could be triggered in a few weeks, could be a few months. Maybe somehow this government lasts all the way till October. I don't think many people are giving it that much of a lifespan right now. But one thing is certain. There's going to be an election this year. I want to know, what if the Liberals had a new leader? Okay. Does that change the equation for anyone out there? What if Justin Trudeau wasn't the Liberal leader anymore? Does that mean you're willing to give the Liberals another shot or another look? How many times did we hear it last year, Dave? People talk back and say, I really don't like Trudeau. I voted for Trudeau. I just can't bring myself to vote for Trudeau and the Liberals again. We've heard that over and over again from people who voted for the Liberals. And then they usually say, but there's a but there, but about that guy Poilievre. Not really sold on that guy.
Yeah.
Not really comfortable with what I hear from him, so I don't know what to do. Well, okay, what if the Liberals had a new leader then? Someone other than Justin Trudeau, like, all the names you hear, Chrystia Freeland, who, let's face it, really stuck it to Trudeau. I mean, if you're going to go and really stick it to your boss, I mean, she's written the template, I suppose, or someone like Mark Carney, or someone like Christy Clark. Her name keeps coming up. The former Premier of British Columbia, totally different kind of liberal than Justin Trudeau, more of a blue liberal. The BC Liberals were not Trudeau Liberals. Or anyone else. It doesn't really matter as long as it's not Justin Trudeau. What if sometime between now and the next election, the Liberals sort all of this out, get themselves a new leader? Justin Trudeau is long gone, not forgotten, but long gone. Would that make you, say, reconsider voting for the Liberals again? Or are you're like, no, it's time to kick the bums out, and you're swearing off Liberals for a while. Love to know what you think about that. 1-833-668-2577, 1-833-668-2577. Why don't we stop here, and we'll wait for some calls. It's Talkback. It's the Friday free-for-all. I'm Rob Snow. This is Now You Know. It's News Radio.
Something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
Got a Rena in Halifax wants to talk about Pierre Poilievre today. Go ahead, Rena. What's on your mind?
Hi, Rob. How are you today?
I'm good. Good to hear from you. What do you want to talk about?
Well, everybody's talking about Paul Poilievre that probably will get in next election.
Yeah.
But has anybody heard him a couple of months ago, it was before Christmas, he was talking and he wants to cut out the Canada pension. Did you hear that?
No, I haven't heard that. No.
You haven't heard that? I've got 3 people that have heard the same thing from him on TV.
From him? That he has
Yes,
said he
sir.
wants to cut the Canada pension plan?
Yes, sir.
I don't believe that for a minute.
Well, I checked with some friends of mine and they heard the same thing from him, from his mouth.
Right.
From his mouth to my ears.
Right. And why? What would be his motivation to do that?
I don't know. Probably to save money. But the thing is, right now with Trudeau,
well, it wouldn't save the government any money. Cutting the Canada pension plan wouldn't save the government any money. You could certainly cut the bureaucracy at the Canada Pension Plan Investment Board, because the bureaucracy is ballooned at that place, and the amount of money that is being spent to actually manage the pension plan has gone through the roof compared to what it used to be. But when it comes to like the Canada pension plan is funded through our contributions to the pension plan. It's not the government's money; it's our money that's going to the pension plan.
I totally agree.
Right?
It just scared me when I heard that. Because right now I'm at a point where I'm 71, and I've lost all my trust in Trudeau, the Conservative, the NDP, the Liberals. Right. I don't know where to go, but that's what I heard from Poilievre.
Okay, well, you know what? We'll do some asking. I mean, we do know people in his office, but I mean, one surefire way to lose an election would be to say, I'm going to cut the Canada pension plan.
Exactly, I agree. I totally agree.
If you're trying to win an election, you're not going to say, I'm going to cut the Canada pension plan.
No, right? That's right. I agree. Yeah. But that's what I heard.
There has been a difference on, there's the Canada pension plan and then there's old age security. And under the Harper government, to get old age security, the plan was to wait until 67 instead of 65. I don't know if Pierre Poilievre wants to move it again to 67 instead of 65, but old age security does not operate like the Canada pension plan. Payments for old age security come right out of taxes. And with the aging of the population, I mean, the bill for old age security is multiplying at a rate that may be unsustainable if it stays at 65 and doesn't move to 67.
No, you're right. Totally. But I just wanted to put that out there, and if anybody heard the same thing, to let you know.
Okay. Well, we'll ask his own people about it. We'll get it right from the horse's mouth. Thank you, Rena. Thank you. Okay, bye-bye. Yeah, let's go to John in Nova Scotia. Hi, John.
Happy New Year, Rob. How you doing?
Happy New Year, John. Yeah.
Your question. Would I vote for the Liberal Party if Trudeau stepped down?
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
Why not?
Why? If him and everybody else that was in the Liberal government stepped down and redid it, possibly.
Okay.
But Mr. Trudeau's brand and ideas how the world should work, according to Trudeau, is not realistic whatsoever.
Okay. Have you ever voted for the? You don't have to tell me if you don't want to. Did you ever vote for the Liberals in the past?
Oh, I most certainly did. My father's not with us any longer. Was a card-carrying Liberal member. I'll guarantee you right now, if he was alive today, I think he'd drive up and talk to Mr. Trudeau.
Okay, all right. But even if they change leaders, they get someone new, whether it's Mark Carney, Chrystia Freeland, you're just kind of done with the Liberals for now. You want like a complete redo of that party.
A complete redo. I don't like. I'm all for diversity and
sure, yeah,
and everything else. I have no problem with that, but to do it the way that Trudeau did it, we're not talking about a basketball team. It's about running a country.
Yes.
Trudeau is just he's ridiculous. And the only other thing I got to say about our politicians, we've got too many parties. We got way too much bureaucracy. Trudeau, I believe, increased that by 100,000+ people.
Yes.
Since he's been in power.
Yep.
Many of his promises he never came through with. And this country, along with many other countries, Rob, really got to take a look at how the governments are run, so that if you get someone as Trudeau or Trump...
We've got to go. They're going to cut us off. But I got your message. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talk Back on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
Friday free-for-all. Talk Back, open line, open topic. Whatever's on your mind, it might be on somebody else's mind, so raise it here and we'll follow along. Let's get to Bob. Hi, Bob. You're on the air. What's on your mind today, Bob?
Hey, Rob. How are you?
I'm good, Bob. What's up?
Hey, I appreciate the forum and the platform that you provide everybody to air out their grievances, I guess. So
okay.
The question and uneducated grievances most of the time, I might add, but the question around would I vote for the Liberal government, my answer would be no, but it's not necessarily to the Liberals as it is to the party behaviors. So why would you vote for a group of people who were continuously embedded in all the various activities that were rubbing against Canadians wrong with Trudeau? Now, whether it would have been a PC party leader or an NDP party leader, and those are whole other conversations, but you can go all the way back to the beginning of Trudeau's service to the country, and there have been not one, not two, not 10, but dozens of things that he has done, and his party has helped him stay out of the spotlight for it. So I guess my feeling is if you lie down with dogs, you get up with fleas. And in this case, the fleas were lying with the dogs. So it's difficult to find the trust within a party who have shadowed and done sleight of hand tricks and whatnot to keep Trudeau's antics from ruining his career a term ago, which is what should have happened.
Okay, what if it was a Liberal leader who wasn't part of the Trudeau government, such as Mark Carney, for example? I know he's some kind of economic advisor to the Liberal Party now. Is that disqualifying for you? Or, as I say, Christy Clark, for example, the former BC Premier, not part of this government, and really not a Trudeau Liberal, I wouldn't say. Well, what about that? Because they haven't been in, to use your language, they haven't woken up with the fleas kind of thing.
Well, and I think, politics is an interesting bedfellow. you know, we all know that the resumes of almost every politician have got some smudges or some redaction on them. But I think part of the problem in politics, and we'll just keep it to our country because I think there's shades of it, shades of gray, if you will, throughout North America, some darker than others. But we don't look at individualism anymore. We don't put together, you know, and I'll give you a bit of an example. If we're building a Team Canada hockey team, you know, we go based on stats. We go based on, you know, how well a player plays with a team. We look at the overall talent of individuals to make one great team. We no longer look for that. So we don't look at the pedigree anymore. We get blinded by a name. And then we think because there's this popularity around a name that automatically entitles somebody to run, but we don't look at the pedigree enough, and we simply have no governance within the government. And so, you know, they take one dog out and they slide another in. I think it's a good time for accountability parties to come into play. And maybe this is a good opportunity for Trudeau or for the Liberals. What Trudeau has done, so take him out of the equation. But for the Liberals to rebuild a party who can compete properly worldwide, rebuild that hockey team that can compete in a national at a national level. We've slipped quite a bit, and we're not looking too reliable in the eyes of a lot of big countries right now.
All right, Bob. Thank you for sharing your thoughts, sir. Appreciate the phone call.
All right.
All the best to you. From Bob in Calgary to Bernie in Mississauga today. Hello. How's the old socialist today? How's the old socialist today, Bernie?
Good. I'm just taking...
another year older, another year wiser, Bernie?
Pardon?
Another year older, another year wiser, I suppose.
Cheer up, the first 100 years are the hardest. I was just going to say, it looks like the Liberal brand has done this there. So in order to stop a coronation of Poilievre in Canada, I'd like to see the progressives in this country get behind Jagmeet Singh and the NDP and give them a shot at it to make this a competitive election. Nobody should be crowned. Nobody should be coronated as the next leader without having to fight in the trenches. And I'd like to see a good, hard-fought election on issues and solutions to problems that we're facing in this country. And as far as your topic on Elon Musk, I'll say about Elon Musk. In the Gospel of Thomas, they're all invited to the banquet, and they all got their excuses for their businesses and everything. And at the end of it says, buyers and sellers won't enter the places of my Father. So that's why I'm a socialist. I'll always be a socialist. And I hope Jagmeet Singh does very well in the election, and it's up to the progressives in this country to stop the coronation of Poilievre.
Okay. All right, Bernie, you've had your say. We'll see how it turns out when the election campaign is underway and how things turn out on election night. I'd love to talk politics with you today or any other day. Bernie and everyone else, it's the Friday Free-for-All Talkback. We will stop here and welcome all of your calls today. 1-833-668-2577. 1-833-668-2577. This is News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
The Friday Free-for-All Talkback, so we're wide open on topics today. 1-833-668-2577. Ramey, you're on the line. What do you want to talk about, Ramey?
Yes, hi. Happy New Year.
Same to you.
This is my first call. I'm so excited.
I appreciate that.
Had that fan moment. I want to talk about the hot topic about Liberals, Trudeau, and our country.
Okay.
Even I'm an immigrant here, but because this is my home, so I have to think what's good for my home. I think it's about time that Trudeau should definitely go, and he should have stepped down by now, in all honesty. And at the same time, there is no leader in Liberal Party or no person in the Liberal Party who can actually step up and have, to take the command in his hand and run the party and be ready to be running in the race
Prime Minister
or to be in the power.
Okay.
The Liberal Party actually really need to take a step back and sit down and go over. They should be pressing the reset button, because many of the Liberals seems like the only reason they joined Liberal Party is because somewhere they got upset with Conservatives. And if you look at the back history, they were part of Conservative rallies and campaigns. And the reason they shifted to Liberals because they couldn't get their way and they were mad, just an upset kid. So, and NDP is no good at the moment. People are saying Jagmeet for no, please, no. The only option we have left with Cons, is it a best option? Maybe not, but there's no other party.
Okay.
So the Liberals.
So Poilievre is the best of a bad lot. Is that what you're saying?
That's exactly what I'm saying. And also at the same time, I think our politicians need to step away from being part of those religious events and communities and try to dress up like them and dance like them and behave like them. Don't lose your identity. The reason you are there because of who you were. Why do you have to mingle in? Let people choose a leader who's good for Canada, not for my community, not for a particular community. Just we need a leader. We are done with people, changing costumes in and out. So yeah.
Okay, that's interesting. Well, thank you so much, Rami. Great to hear from you. I hope you'll call back sometime. Really enjoy your insights. I mean, I think the goal of the Liberal Party right now has to be avoid oblivion. I have said it over and over and over again, especially in the final few weeks of last year. I mean, recent history, look around the country, it's not kind to Liberal parties in Canada. Think about British Columbia. Okay, in the election in British Columbia, for decades, you had the free market coalition of red Tories and blue Liberals in the BC Liberal Party. That party's gone now. Like, it doesn't even exist anymore. In Ontario, the Liberals governed for 15 years, and they were crushed by Doug Ford and the Progressive Conservatives. And then they were crushed again in the following election. And if there is going to be an election this year in Ontario, they're going to get crushed again. Look at a map. There are no serious Liberal parties in Alberta or Saskatchewan or Manitoba. In Quebec, where I am, we have this CAQ government here, which is a weird collection of federalists and nationalists, increasingly more nationalist than federalists, Francophone Quebec nationalism. And the classic federalist option, the Liberal Party of Quebec, which was always a collection of Liberals and Tories, is dead in the water. Long road back for that party. Like, it's fourth in the polls in this province, and the Parti Québécois, like the hardcore separatists, are going to win the next election, probably in a landslide, and they're promising another referendum. And then you go to Atlantic Canada, and PEI has a PC government. The Liberals are almost non-existent on that province provincially. Nova Scotia has a PC government, and in the last provincial election, late last year, the Liberals were pretty much wiped out. Even the leader lost his own seat and resigned. In Newfoundland, you have a Liberal government, but it's a Liberal government that's no fan of Trudeau, doesn't want the carbon tax, doesn't want an emissions cap on its oil and gas sector. Only New Brunswick in 2024 was a bright spot for anything called Liberal, with Susan Holt's election win there against what was a tired Tory government. So I say the challenge facing the federal Liberals right now is try to avoid oblivion. Try to win whatever, 50 seats. Try to become the official opposition. If not, you're talking about a party that could be in the political wilderness for a very, very long time. Like 8 years, 9 years, 10 years, 12 years. 1-833-668-2577. We are wide open on topics, so I just kind of get wrapped up in politics. Let's go to Chris in Nova Scotia on, I think, something completely different. Chris. Hello, Chris.
Yeah. Yes, Rob. How are you today?
I'm good, Chris. Thank you for calling. What's up?
Well, yeah, you're right. I'm going wide on this one, if you pardon the pun.
Okay.
I don't know how many people are aware of this story, but I want it to be shone in the harsh light of the public forum. There's a ex NFL football player. His name is Michael Vick.
Yes, I remember him.
You remember him in his dogfighting ring, and he never.
He went to prison for that. Yeah.
No, he didn't, Rob.
He didn't go to prison.
That's the mistaken impression that people got. He did some time, soft time, for racketeering charges.
Okay.
He was never brought in and punished for what he did to those dogs. And I want to tell you, if you don't know a lot about this story, there's places you can go to research this, and just read, if you got a strong stomach, what this man did to countless dogs. Among other things, he would throw them in a pool of water, hook jumper cables up, and electrocute them for fun. Him and his buddies used to have a party game where they would draw a line on a brick wall and see who could throw a dog the furthest through the air and hit above that line on that brick wall.
Oh, my gosh.
He regularly would pick dogs up over his head and slam them repeatedly on the ground and then walk away and leave them to die in abject agony.
Oh,
Now, his punishment for this, he is now the head coach of the football program at Norfolk State University. Wrap your head around that.
I did read that a few weeks ago that he landed a coaching job at it's not a well-known school, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Head coach, Norfolk State University. Now, you can imagine a man that's this sadistic, that is that twisted, that he does things to helpless creatures that are under his control. He is now going to be of control over a bunch of impressionable, young, testosterone-filled athletes. And he will hold sway over them the way a king would hold sway over his court. So try to imagine this guy doing what he's done, never having to have paid any due for what he did to those animals. And now, as a result, because he's a pro athlete and they wanted him as their head coach, now he was rewarded with a lucrative job at a state university. I'm so outraged by that. I just can't even imagine that you would put a man like that in charge of a bunch of young men and their future.
Okay. Thank you for calling and raising that story today. I appreciate your call. We're out of time, though. We have to move along. I'm Rob Snow. It's Talkback. That's how it works on the Friday Free For All. You go from politics to the misdeeds of a former NFL star on the Friday Free For All. This is News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
Friday Free For All Talkback Hour to Airdrie. Let's talk to Linda today. Hi, Linda.
Hi, Rob. Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year to you, Linda. Thanks for calling. What's on your mind?
Well, I just wanted to comment. We always enjoy Bernie, who called in, and I just had to refute a bit. I'm out here in the West, of course, and a lot of times we feel that Alberta doesn't get a fair shake. And, with regards to Jagmeet Singh, likely with the Liberals in the wilderness, could end up leader of the NDP, for the opposition. And I just feel like people can't forget that he also propped Trudeau up with self-serving interests. I think we need a leader that's a leader for all Canadians, irrespective of the flag, that's working for all Canadians, not working on their own agenda or his federal pension. And we also have to look at Canada on the global stage and who is best set to negotiate. We're in some really troubled global times with the unrest in the world, but also facing the tariffs, which is concerning. And I do think that Poilievre is well-spoken and best equipped to handle this next phase through some rocky waters on the tariff issue.
Okay. Thank you very much for your call today, Linda, and Happy New Year to you. Thanks for calling again. Really appreciate it. And I'll wish Bernie a Happy New Year on your behalf as well. Let's go to Roland. Hi, Roland. We don't have a lot of time. If you want to, in fact,
Hello,
we
Rob.
only have about a minute left, Roland. If you want to hang on, I'll bring you on after the news, but you'll have to wait a few minutes. It's up to you.
That's all right. That's
okay.
fine with me.
Why don't, yeah, let's just do that, because if we come on now, you won't have very much time. So we will wind things down right now for hour number one, and then hour number two, a whole brand new hour of Talkback on the way. Once again, it's the Friday free-for-all, so we don't come up with the topics during the Friday free-for-all. We're wide open. We will follow your lead. The number to call again, 1-833-668-2577, 1-833-668-2577. We'll be back right after the latest breaking news. I'm Rob Snow. It's Now You Know. Talk Back Friday free-for-all on News Radio.
It's time to talk back
on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
Call now
and have your say.
1-833-668-2577.
Welcome to hour number 2 of the Friday Free-for-All Talkback Hour. We don't come up with the topics during the Friday Free-for-All Talkback Hour. We leave that heavy lifting right up to you. Our number to call is 1-833-668-2577, and we love to hear from first-time callers. Just mention that to Andrea, and we will make your call a priority if it's the first time you've ever called us. And tell us what's on your mind today. Roland, thanks for waiting. First of all, Roland, you're on the air. Hi there.
Hello there, Rob. First-time caller. Happy New Year's. And I'll get right to the point.
Okay.
2 points I want to make. Number one is protesting in Canada has gone a little bit off base.
Okay.
Especially with people with covering their faces. It emboldens people too much. It makes people behave a lot differently than they would normally if their faces were uncovered. You look at what happened in Montreal, the carnage, and they can't trace anybody that burned buildings and cars and everything like that. Vancouver, same thing. You got Antifa, and it just scares people too. Like when they show up in malls and they protest in these Arafat outfits and screaming and at skating rinks in Toronto and stuff. And I mean, people are out skating with their families and they're dealing with people that are masked, and it's really intimidating.
It can be very intimidating. Yeah,
it is, and it just emboldens people too much to misbehave. Also, my second point is we got to get rid of the cheese cartel. You look at the grain growers; they ended their cartel. Boom, it ended. The world didn't end. Canada, it doesn't incentivize anyone to make any good products. We got rubbery cheese from Saputo. I mean, the only good cheese in Canada is Balderson. I'd love to get some good Tillamook cheese from Oregon. But anyways, that's all I have to say, Rob.
So you want to end supply management in the dairy sector, is what you're saying, right?
There are large dairy farms in Canada that can compete with the Americans, and the dumping of milk and things like that, and it would just drive down costs, and it would make things much more cost efficient for consumers.
Okay. Do you have to answer that phone?
No.
No. Okay. All right.
Okay.
No, it's interesting. I mean, this is certainly, you would have to think once the Trump administration, comes into office on the 20th of January, this was a big sticking point for them. The tariffs on imports of agriculture products from the United States into Canada in the supply managed sector. They're in the hundreds of percent. I guess the question is, it comes up whenever Canada's negotiating a trade deal with any country. And if there is an agreement to open up these supply managed markets even a little bit, then those farmers will seek compensation. And maybe they will have to be compensated. But what is the dollar figure if you wanted to end supply management and then compensate, say, all the dairy farmers for all the quota and the investment that they've made in their farms in the quota? It would be in the billions of dollars, I suspect, maybe tens of billions of dollars.
Yes, right? Yeah, but they can find other markets for their products. I mean, like, look at the barley growers in the prairies. I mean, they were able to sell to the feedlots in the States. And,
right.
know,
okay.
So, I mean, and the world's not going to end, but I mean, once we get past that hump, I mean, it'll make things a lot smoother dealing with other countries but this is voting bloc in Quebec. That's always the problem, right? Whether they don't want our pipelines
they're very
whatever.
Powerful. Well, I mean, you don't hear any of the political parties are supporting it. None of them are advocating for an end to supply management.
I know that's troubling.
Like the People's Party was, but where's the People's Party these days? I don't even think Maxime Bernier's living in Florida these days. I heard.
Well, I mean, I can't speak for Maxine, but all I know is that I speak for most Canadians is that we'd love to see prices come down, and when you hear about farmers dumping billions of gallons of milk down the drain, that's not right either.
We pay more for those supply managed grocery items, eggs, chicken, turkeys. All the milk, all the cheese, all the ice cream, yogurt, all of that stuff. It's more expensive because of supply management. Butter. Oh, butter. Well, let me tell you about butter. It's funny you mentioned that. Just before Christmas, doing some shopping for Christmas dinner, I go into the grocery store, and it's one of the Loblaws grocery stores, and butter was on sale for $4.88 for a pound of butter. $4.88, usually almost $8 now for a pound of butter.
I know.
$4.88. I bought 10 of them.
So did my wife. Did her Christmas baking done.
What a screaming deal. And I don't even do a lot of baking, but so I have like 9 bricks of butter in my deep freezer right now because I just couldn't resist at that price, $4.88. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Good to hear from you.
Good to hear from you too, Rob. You have a great.
Thank you.
Great
thanks for waiting there through the news. Yeah. So all the lines are available. Remember, David, I texted you over Christmas. I said butter was just on sale for $4.88.
I do the same thing. I was
like $4.88. Is there a limit on how many you can buy? I'd like to I'll take the whole pile here.
Now, there is some good news on the butter front. The Dairy Commission did not put through a price hike for February of this year. Usually they do that in February if they are going to do it. It's the first time in, I think, 3 or 4 running years where they're not hiking the price of dairy fat. I learned this via an interview I had done with the food professor a couple weeks ago. So the price of butter should at least remain stable at around $8 or $9 for the foreseeable future into 2025. So if that's good news, then that's good news, I guess.
Oh, yes. The fact that it's not going up is good news. Okay, 1-833-668-2577, 1-833-668-2577. Friday, free for all. Talk back. We have some lines available. The wait won't be too long at all. Love to hear from you today, whatever's on your mind. This is News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talk Back on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
Friday, free for all. Talk back. 1-833-668-2577. Whatever's on your mind, we'll roll with it. We have been asking, though, about Elon Musk. How do you view this guy? What's your opinion of Elon Musk? Do you view him as a visionary entrepreneur, or some people view him as a dangerous ideologue? Or maybe it's a little from column A, a little from column B. I'll tell you what, David, he's all over my Twitter feed. X feed, right?
X, yeah.
Yeah. There's no avoiding it, it seems. Like no avoiding him and his postings. But he has built these incredible companies. I'm amazed. There are people who say he's an idiot or he's a dummy or whatever. I don't see it that way at all. I mean, dummies don't become the richest person in the world or build the most valuable automobile company in the world or the most valuable space startup in the world and launch the most powerful rockets in the world. Dummies just don't do that. I can say this, David, I was once a customer of Elon Musk's for a while because I had a subscription to his Starlink.
Oh, yes. Yeah, that's
satellite service. And if you live in a rural area, you know what it can be like. It's a little better now, but not that long ago, if you lived in a rural area, it was like you're living on the other side of the digital divide. Terrible, terrible internet access. And when Starlink came along, and I'm saying this even as a Rogers employee because where I live, Rogers just doesn't service this area. So when Starlink came along, that was a real game changer. It was kind of expensive to get it up and running. I think it was like our cash outlay at the time, Dave, was something like $700 or $800.
Yeah,
to get the hardware here, all up front. But it was pretty good service. And once it was up and running, I mean, it was idiot proof. And it was way, way better than anything that was available before. This idea that Elon Musk is an idiot, I mean, no way. He spent hundreds of millions of dollars to help Donald Trump get elected. Now he's weighing in on politics all over the place. UK politics, German politics. Supporting a hard right German party in German politics. And he seems to like what Pierre Poilievre said to Jordan Peterson in that interview and what Poilievre is pitching to voters. And you remember, Dave, he called Justin, what did he say about Justin Trudeau? He's an insufferable tool.
Yes. Not mincing any words on that.
Right? Yeah, can't wait to see the end of this insufferable tool. And I always thought it was worse to be called a tool than a fool. A tool is even like a little more biting. But in the in the Canadian context, thinking Justin Trudeau is insufferable. I mean, that Elon Musk is not alone in that line of thinking these days. But one of the things I've been kind of wondering, Dave, is does he have too much power? Does Elon Musk have too much power? Is he too influential? Does his power and influence worry you at all? Like even a little bit. I don't know. I'm just a little curious. Just a little. There's always been money and power in politics, especially in U.S. politics, and even in our politics in our country. But is this on another level? On such a level that maybe it's of concern. Any thoughts on that, Dave?
I think they're fair questions to ask. I mean, Elon Musk went from campaign financier and ardent supporter of Donald Trump to heading up his own government agency, just like that. That came out kind of out of left field. And not only that, the government agency is tasked with slashing government spending. At the same time, this is a man whose companies enjoy hundreds of millions of dollars in federal government contracts. I think that there's at least the appearance of some conflict of interest there.
But it's not just what his influence over U.S. affairs, but now his influence in, say, foreign affairs. Okay, I helped to get Trump elected, and now I'd like to get Reform, for example, elected in the UK. The Nigel Farage party, or this, what's it called, ADF party in Germany. I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there as a topic. I find it very, very interesting, that topic. Elon Musk, does he have too much power? As I said, there's always been money and power in politics. It was just in the news not that long ago. Questions about Dominic LeBlanc, who is the minister of everything these days in the Trudeau government. One of Justin Trudeau's most loyal allies, childhood friend. Reports about him spending time at an exclusive lodge owned by the Irving family of New Brunswick over the Christmas holidays. LeBlanc's from New Brunswick. He's the most powerful cabinet minister in this government now. He's certainly the most powerful cabinet minister from Atlantic Canada. And some of his critics want to know, what the heck are you doing hanging out during Christmas at a family lodge owned by one of the richest, most powerful families in the entire country, the Irving family? LeBlanc says, well, I've been friends with the Irvings for a long time. We go way back. But, okay, how does it look? It's not like me and David we're going to invite Dominic LeBlanc over for a Christmas slumber party. He's coming to our place, so we're going to have a PJ party. But I guess, if you're the Irvings, maybe you can have that kind of access to the most powerful cabinet minister in the Trudeau government. Money in politics. I mean, it's not like there are really 8 degrees of separation in this country, but I do wonder Elon Musk has so much wealth. Like his fortune hit $400 billion last year. And the fact that he controls this social media platform, the fact that he has tens of millions of followers on social media, his ability to manipulate the postings so that they show up on your timeline, does that give him some kind of power and influence that the political world hasn't seen or had to deal with before? 1-833-668-2577. 1-833-668-2577. It's Talkback. This is News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
Friday free for all. Talkback. Eric is in Halifax, wants to talk a little bit about, well, the World Juniors. Wasn't Canada's year again for the World Juniors.
I don't think they had enough power. And one guy in particular that should have went, and I don't know why Chicago wouldn't let him go, but I think they could have used Bedard. And there was a few other ones that I heard from. And also they got some bad deals on the refereeing. I thought the refereeing was outrageous. There was a couple of calls there that could have went either way. As far as the elections go, I'm in the dark right now because all three parties are all hypocritical. Singh was a hypocrite. 1 minute he's with Trudeau, the next minute he's ready to throw him under the bus.
Right.
The PC guy, all he wants is an election. He wishes for an election. Well, you better be careful what you wish for. You might not get it. And as far as the Trudeau guy goes, he's a fugitive on the run.
He's a fugitive. Well, he's not really a fugitive.
So, I mean, and getting back to the juniors, you guys are close to that. I mean, I don't know. I think the radio station that you work out of is in Ottawa. How did you guys, how did you feel about it that Canada got ousted the way they did?
I wasn't happy with the team. I mean, this is the second year in a row that they're not even going to get to play for a medal. I mean, I don't know. It's a short tournament. You got to bring these guys together. You hope they click. And some years, don't you just get a feeling like, oh, okay, we've got it this year. And other times it's like, it just, I mean, they lost to Latvia, for crying out loud. They lost to Latvia. I mean, I get it, Eric. There's all this talk about, well, there's parity in hockey and other countries are catching up to Canada, but Canada should still be able to beat Latvia. Don't you think?
Yeah.
Latvia,
Yeah, I agree.
And then I was thinking, well, if they can't beat Latvia, or should we really be surprised that they lost to the United States or that they lose to Czechia?
Czech beat them last year with the same circumstances.
Yeah.
But I think there's too much stress put on them. Like when the juniors are announced, Canada, is the ultimate one to win it all, and that I think that takes its toll on the players eventually. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, we have to remember, I mean, they're still just young men, right? It's the under 20, so they're not even 20 years old yet, and there is a lot of pressure on them. But still, I mean, that game against the United States, they shouldn't have taken all those penalties. Yeah, you can argue, last night that they got a bad deal from the referee, especially on the 5-minute call. But what it came down to is they took too many penalties and they couldn't score enough goals. They left, obviously they didn't have enough offensive firepower, and there are people playing for other junior teams that could have provided some scoring, and for some reason they didn't pick those.
I think they should have sent a little bit more potent
offense.
I mean, you just said it. You just said it a few seconds ago. They I don't know. They overlooked what should have been there.
Yeah, I think you're bang on. There's always next year. Just ask a Leaf fan, Eric. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to run. Thank you. All right. Bye-bye. All right. We're in the home stretch now of Talkback. I'm Rob Snow. 1-833-668-2577. I've got to go check in on a barking dog here. This is News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talk Back on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
Friday, free for all, a talkback hour. We're in the home stretch now. We're wide open on topics today. That's how we roll on Friday, whatever's on your mind. Although we would be interested to know your opinion on Elon Musk, since he's been all over the news recently. David in Calgary, you're still with me, David. Hello, David. No, I do not think we have David there. Okay. Oh, David, there you are, David. Thank you. I hear you just fine, David. Go ahead. Yep.
So yesterday I heard a little bit of your show about CEOs, and not much because I got upset and turned it off. But I just want to remind everybody that it's still a free enterprise society, right? And CEOs are hired, especially for the public companies or publicly traded companies, by a board of directors. The board of directors are there to protect the rights of the shareholder and to maximize the value for the shareholder. So if people want to participate in the bounty, they should buy a share, even one, or they can buy a mutual fund. And if they don't like what the CEO is doing, or they think they can do it better, they should apply. And just because you work in the loading dock, it's not the same thing. So that's what I think about CEOs. I think it's supply and demand, and you get what you pay for. Regarding Elon Musk,
just before we move on, because you said you were listening yesterday, but you got angry and turned it off. I hate to hear that. I'm just wondering what was it that you thought maybe was offside?
Well, I think too many people in society right now think that society owes them everything, and anybody who's got any money is just free game to just take their money and give it to somebody who maybe didn't stay in school or didn't work hard. I mean, we all had to work hard to survive, and I think now there's an attitude of no, I don't want that guy to have more money than me. I want to have, everyone should have the same, and of course that's not a sustainable model based on a lot of other experience around the world.
Yeah, there's also this idea that if somebody has a lot of money or has earned a lot of money, I mentioned, for example, the CEO of Loblaws, I think the figure is $22 million or whatever.
Right.
Well, he must have made that $22 million by ripping off somebody else, right?
Well, then they should call the police. Because, and that leads right into the Elon Musk thing. Nobody gets all wound up about Zuckerberg backing all these political guys and all these district attorneys in the States and actually around the world. Let's not kid ourselves. Facebook is global. And what about George Soros? How did George Soros make his money? Can anybody say? He didn't.
Well, he broke the back of the pound. That was how he made his first big fortune, was it not, as a currency speculator?
Well, as
financial markets?
Currency speculator. How non-oppressed am I about that? Elon Musk made probably the first and maybe the only successful electric car company, and that's a real thing. That's not Atlas Shrugged, right? And then when somebody else mentioned, one of your other guests or your friend there, Elon Musk gets $100 million from the U.S. government. Yeah, well, mostly because he has a rocket company, because Boeing weren't able to go into space and save people. Elon Musk actually does stuff, right? And I think he's a relatively clean guy. Nobody says how he was a drug lord before or that his money is laundered. And he went in there and cleaned up X or Twitter because the guy before that, he was unelected. And look at all the manipulation they were doing with algorithms and blocking people. So I think Elon Musk, he actually does things, builds things that helps people. And I think
as for his political influence, the question is about his political influence now. Does he have too much political influence?
Well, does George Soros have too much political influence? He all those district attorneys and, somebody gave $1 billion to Kamala Harris and Joe Biden. What about that? That's $1 billion that they blew through just for a campaign. That's not all the money they got. That's just for the campaign. It's $1 billion, and nobody talks about that. So I think that Elon Musk has a lot of power because he has a lot of money. And I think that if you want to give power to someone, give it to someone who is successful, who is honest, and who at least will tell you where he stands. Because he doesn't beat around the bush. He doesn't hide in the shadows.
No, he doesn't. No.
He'll tell you exactly what he thinks, a little bit like Mr. Trump. And by the way, he's working for the government, U.S. government, for nothing, and he's trying to limit his term to 6 months. How many other politicians do that?
Okay. Thank you for your call.
Well, thanks.
Appreciate your take, David.
Call.
Yeah, really appreciate it. Yeah, anytime. Let's go to Beth in Calgary. Hi, Beth.
Hi, Rob. Happy New Year.
Hi, Beth. Happy New Year to you.
Thank you. I'll comment quickly about Elon Musk. I think he's amazingly intelligent. I've been kind of following him just out of curiosity since his controversial debut on SNL about, I think it was a couple of years ago, and just been very curious about what he's doing. And I do agree with your last caller. I think he does do a lot of good things. The piece I wanted to bring forward today is around the Trudeau government. And I know it's not a new subject, but in particularly around our military veterans. One of the things, I work with veterans, and one of the things that I have found extremely frustrating is that the government has given Galen Weston the actual contract for a mandatory rehabilitation program for veterans. It's so it's owned by LifeMark, which is owned by Loblaws, which we know is Galen Weston. And it is a system that's fraught with bureaucracy. People are not getting the help that they actually need. And I guess I just wanted to voice that. I've written a lot of letters on behalf of people. And I just don't know. Like, that is just...
So this thing, LifeMark, okay.
Mm-hmm.
So this is administering this rehabilitation program for veterans. Rehabilitation for what kind of rehabilitation?
Well, it could be physical. It could be psychological as well. The issue is it all used to go through Veterans Affairs. And so when we were providers, you had to be approved. What I'm finding is with some people that have gone through this program, they are competent medical professionals but don't understand the nuances of treating people with PTSD and in the military context. So what I find is extreme frustration with bureaucracies and political nepotism, giving it to his friend. So that's one of the things I'm really hoping that changes with the government. Maybe I'm naively optimistic, but I just wanted to bring that up.
That's interesting. Well, I thank you for raising the awareness about that. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Beth.
Thank you.
1-833-668-2577, Friday, free for all, talk back hour. Still time to take your call, fit you in before the top of the hour. This is News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talk Back on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
Friday, free for all. Talk back in the home stretch here on a Friday afternoon. Let's take Oscar's call. Hi, Oscar. You're on the air. What do you want to talk about?
Yes, I'm kind of a pissed off Oiler fan, but fan, period.
Okay.
The players and the owners are all bragging and worried about how much of an increase they're going to get this year. And they're greedy, both of them, the players and the owners.
You mean an increase in the salary cap? In the salary cap, you mean?
Yes. What I would like to see is 40% go to the players, 40% go to the owners, and 20% go to the fans, and they could start taking the prices of those seats in the arenas and bringing the price down. If you're a family of four, you can't afford to go to a hockey game. Time you get your seats, buy pop, maybe get a beer, you're looking at $500 plus a night.
It's very expensive.
And they're all greedy about this, and they're all bragging about how much money you get. The last guy got over $11 million for a player. They don't need that much. But they're sure stopping me to go and watch the game. That's what I'm upset about.
Right. Okay.
Right?
Prices are too high to see the hockey games now.
Well, yeah. So why can't they bring the prices down on the seats if they're getting all this money and give a little bit back to us because we can't afford to go to the game?
Okay. All right. I hear you. It's very expensive. Out of my price range, really, for the most part these days. Yeah.
They're getting too greedy. And you'll look, if I go back and check, every time they got an increase, they increased the price of the tickets. On top of that.
Okay. Right. Okay.
It's ridiculous.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Gotcha, Oscar. Oscar is an angry Edmonton Oilers fan. Thank you, Oscar. Good to hear from you. Parking. Don't forget the parking. At the Ottawa Senators games, David, what are they charging for parking out there now?
Well, I am so glad you asked because I was there. Okay. I was there just before Christmas not for a Senators game, but for a concert.
Okay.
$26 to
park.
$26.
Wow.
I can remember when it was $10. And that wasn't so long ago. And then it was $12. Then it was $16. Then it was $20. Now it's $26.
$26. My gosh, just to park.
I have turned down free Senators tickets.
Oh, yeah.
Because by the time you're in there, you park, maybe you want something to eat.
Even if the tickets are free. Because
by the time you drive out there, it's way the heck out in the West End. That's an Ottawa problem, notwithstanding. But, if you want to have a beer and a slice of pizza, that's somehow $32. Plus, your free tickets are going to cost you at least $50. So, I've turned down nosebleed free tickets. If they're in the 100s, maybe I'll consider it. But I'm not a wealthy man.
Okay. If they give you the rich people tickets, or you're in the private suite with the free food and the private bathroom or whatever.
Or, the Rogers box. Rogers has a box. They could stick me in there.
Right. Okay. But if it's just, you're going to be in the 300 level and you're going to have to pay to park and you're going to have to pay for your hot dog and you're going to have to pay for your popcorn, you're going to have to pay for your beer or your soft drink.
Forget
You're going to pass and you'll watch it on TV at home.
I can watch the Sens lose at home for free. That's fine.
Yeah. No, I hear you. It's, it's incredibly expensive these days. And in light of the defeat of Team Canada at the World Juniors, a lot of people are just, the whole hockey experience in Canada has just become out of reach for so many people. And maybe that partially explains, some of the problems that they're having developing talent. I don't know if there's anything to that. I think with this version of Team Canada at the World Juniors, it just wasn't a very good team, and they just picked some of the wrong players. There are people who were on that team that shouldn't have been on that team, and they left people off the team who should have been on the team. It probably is really that simple. But you think, what does it cost to play minor hockey these days?
Oh, gosh, I have no idea, but
right,
I know,
especially what it's like when you're young and kids get the equipment, they grow out of the equipment, got to buy new equipment, got to rent the ice, got to pay this fee, that fee. Oh, there's a tournament this weekend, got to go to that tournament. Oh, next weekend we're going to this tournament. It's thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars plus the commitment in time, and time is money, right? Just the whole minor hockey experience the cost is astronomical, Dave.
Yeah, I don't know how parents do it these days. A lot of sacrifices.
Be right back. Gary, hang on. Get to your call next. I'm Rob Snow. This is Now You Know. It's Talkback Friday Free for All here on News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
Final few minutes here on the Friday Free-for-All Talkback. Gary, you're on the air, Gary. What's on your mind today, Gary?
Happy New Year to you, Rob, and everybody else across the country. Yep. Interesting to hear chit-chat about high prices,
Thank you.
Whether it's hockey tickets, butter, and such. We really have to be smart consumers. And, with the drop in the dollar, and that will probably continue in the weeks ahead, we're going to be paying more for fruit and stuff like that. We're really going to have to be savvy shoppers and watch for sales and bargains. it's interesting what Oscar was saying about the high price of hockey tickets up there in Edmonton. Same thing in Calgary. You're hearing it from all kinds of people. Who knows if that is ever going to change? I mean, with the owners and costs and such, it's unfortunate. And it also reminds me to say, Rob, why have a lot of parents, families turned to soccer? Why has soccer become so popular? Because it's far less expensive than having your kids in hockey. And certainly my grandkids, they're never going to play hockey. They go out and skate, but they're involved in soccer and some of the other indoor sports because it's almost prohibitive for a lot of families to get the kids involved in hockey, which is unfortunate. It's a good sport. It's good for the kids to get out there and do their thing.
Yeah. And I don't know if you have any insight into actually how much of a difference it is, say, between enrolling kids in minor soccer versus minor hockey. I mean, is it a big difference?
My understanding is that there is quite a difference because you're buying less equipment right, and uniforms and stuff. And at least that's my experience here in Calgary from what I've heard. But the explosion, the popularity of soccer, for example, is big indoor, and it's indoor and outdoor, right? So they can play it even in wintertime. So I can see why families have turned to soccer as an alternative to hockey.
Yeah. Very good point that you make about the Canadian dollar as well. I've been watching that on a daily basis, and in fact, it's down again today. The currency 69.16 cents US. So
and we've been here before, Rob, and even dipped down. I remember 65 cents Canadian way back, and we got through that. The bright side is for those industries that export, and I worked with a company that many years ago that exported a lot of product to the U.S. and Europe, and there's the big benefit to those who export. So
it'll be beneficial to the exporters because the American dollar will buy more Canadian goods, but as you say, it's a double-edged sword. Yeah,
it is.
If you're looking for tomato, if you're looking for tomatoes from whatever Mexico or oranges from Florida or grapes and all of this stuff stuff we don't grow here in the winter, going to be more expensive.
But for the film industry out here, and for a lot of other businesses, there's a positive sign to it as well.
Yeah. Okay. Great to hear from you, Gary. Lots of great points. Thank you so much. All the best to you and Happy New Year. And David, we made it through the first week of 2025, abbreviated though it was. Great to hear you this week.
Yeah, I could get used to the 2-day work week. I'll just throw that out there.
I don't think we should get don't get used to it, David. We're going to be flat out till I guess our next break would be what? Family Day, I guess.
Yeah, Family Day. Okay.
All right. Okay. Long time to go till we get there, and a lot is going to happen, I think, between now and then, including some potential fireworks in just the coming days in federal politics that we're constantly watching for you. We'll be back on Monday. We hope you have a great weekend. I'm Rob Snow, here with David Smith. The latest breaking news coming up next on News Radio.